Okay, my name is Cheri, and I'm the Director of Residential Services for New Hope. And I started with New Hope actually almost a year now. Yeah.
My name is Al, and I've worked with New Hope almost 7 months now. So I'm pretty new at it. It's a very exciting opportunity. Although I've been in the field for 35 years, this is my first opportunity to work in this field.
Well, I am the Director of Residential, so I actually am responsible for overseeing and collaborating with the shelter staff and providing oversight and management of the two residential shelters. And really my role is to help to provide staff with support, provide them with professional development activities, to oversee policies and practices, to assess services and service delivery, to implement best practices, and to have some engagement within the community with other providers, but also engagement with the participants, which I love, in terms of doing whatever we can to be creative and meet their needs. So then also to see what other resources we need to bring into the shelter. That's part of my role with, again, collaborating with the team and assessing the need and partnering with other programs in New Hope as well, seeing if we can collaborate and build and bridge.
I'm the shelter manager here, and I think like many other jobs in human services, there's a multitude of jobs and responsibilities. I try to narrow it down to a few. I would say besides supervising the staff, is really to partner with the staff and to make sure that learning experience is something that they have to offer future generations of families and individuals that we work with. Also just preparing them professionally. I try to find out what type of training would benefit them most, and things that they also would like to do, and find out about what their future aspirations. And overall to make sure the shelter is a safe place to be, and also a place that you enjoy being and that people benefit from it. And it's just a community type environment that the staff and the participants find pleasure in being in, find benefit working in.
Well, the shelter, the average based on this past year's data is 3 to 6 months. And there is no time limit though, which is wonderful because we're able to serve participants as long as they need our support and our assistance. The goal is to transition participants into permanent housing, ideally, and we have many different types of housing and ways to do that and pathways for individuals, but it is really great where there's not a time limit, and we're able to serve people as long as they need us and can transition out into another safe environment.
And the ultimate goal is to make sure that when people leave here, they have a permanent place to be, a safe home to be, and so we try to make sure they have every opportunity to obtain that during the stay. When people come into the shelter, we try to make sure the room is comfortable and cozy. We provide toiletries for them and linen, and make sure that they have a comfortable bed. And if there's an additional child, we make sure there's another bed in the room. And if it's really hot right now, so we try to make sure they have a fan. All the comforts of home, but it's really to make them feel as comfortable as they can, because this is a difficult situation for them to come into. You go into an environment and you don't know, and you're coming from a place that's really difficult. So we try to do everything we can to make sure they feel comfortable.
A shelter room it's actually really really nice. It's very homey, and when we have someone move in, we provide them with a bed, If they have children, we'll provide the children with a crib and or like a child bed if necessary. And they receive a dresser. They have a lockbox as well, where they can secure their medications and or any other, personal items that they want to keep safe. And then they also have access to other storage, a closet where they can store specific items. So it's very, they have a comforter, and we try to create, a nice, safe space that's trauma-informed where they're comfortable, and they can also add to the space, once they come into the residence if they want to. So we'll modify and restructure things depending on the size of the family, but also depending on the participant needs. Well, we actually have two shelters within New Hope, and we have one in Southeast and one in South Central, and both of the shelters can serve up to 6 families. And this is also, an option where we can serve individuals. So participants come in without children, and some reunify with their children eventually once they're coming to the shelter. Some come in with, their children once they, we admit them to the residence. So we can be creative and flexible about how we accommodate each family. And then also there may be a situation where there's a high-risk case, and we have a total of 6 beds at each shelter, 6 rooms. We can accommodate somebody that needs our help and is in imminent risk into one of our play areas and common room areas as well. So we serve a total of 12. If the shelter is full, we will, as an agency, do whatever we can do to provide additional resources to that individual that's in need of shelter support. And we primarily would refer them to SafeLink, which is a database system that where they can call the 24-hour number, and also they can, if they have access on their phone, they can also log in that way and determine if there's beds available. And we do whatever we can if we can accommodate to, see if we can potentially not accommodate in one shelter, but if there's a bed in another shelter, since we have 2, we'll try to accommodate and, refer that person to the other shelter if we have the capacity to do so.
In addition to that, if we have someone else, an individual or family who's in an emergency type situation, we allow them to either, if there's an empty room, we allow them to be in that room, that space until, that short period of time, because usually the time here is very brief.
The common spaces, the residences are literally community houses. So we provide a home, and that's the structure of the environment, which is really great because it's comforting and it's healing and it's trauma informed. So we have outside space, yard space, and for the children we have jungle gyms, and we have bikes, so they can feel really comfortable and kind of enjoy the outside living. Then we also have inside, we have common room areas which host televisions, and we have computers where participants can access resources on their own. They can do that through the computers that we provide. We have kitchen areas, we have showers, and numerous bathroom spaces, full and full size for the participants. We have also play areas where for participants that have children, we have individual play areas in each shelter where we have child toys and games and activities and books where parents can actually sit with their children and engage with them and play with them. And then there's also office space, primary office space for the wonderful team that we have within shelter. And then we also have individual space for specific staff that provide specialized services. So.
I think the first thing you probably have to do is to call the hotline. called the New Hope Hotline, and they will let them know. They'll talk to the counselor, answer the phone, and they'll let them know what's available. And if something's available there, they can also talk about services that they can put in place. If it's counseling or any other type of services, so they'll be able to let them know that. And say if there isn't an opportunity for them to come into a shelter, in addition to the service they can offer, they can also direct them to SafeLink for an additional look for other places that might be available.
If they're looking for shelter, we immediately would want them to call the hotline, and the hotline staff will then triage them to the shelter team. And they can also do an intake themselves. So immediately would be the hotline, contact the hotline, and then we'll see if we have accommodations, and if we don't, can we make reasonable accommodations, which is the emergency high-risk intake that we sometimes are able to provide for individuals in need. And then if not, we'll provide resources. We always make sure that whoever's calling or whoever's in need of shelter, we can accommodate them within our shelter services, and we provide the resources in the community to be able to triage them to get additional supports, and that's through SafeLink, primarily the services that we use, which is the housing system, which tracks DV shelters in the local area and surrounding areas.
I think from the very beginning, we try to do that by doing the intake process, trying to figure out kind of where they are, what they're hoping, the goals they want to work on, what's going to work best for them, and then we really try to connect them with people within our community. Really, there's a lot of collaboration that goes on New Hope, and that's through the counseling team. We also have other connections to the court, and every type of service that's available. For an example, we have had someone here who was having extreme difficulties with the court system with her abuser, and we were able to support her through the whole court process, and it all works out. So I think whatever obstacle comes up, we really look at the answer. We're very kind of focused on what the solution is instead of the problem. So that's been really helpful, and I think it's been helpful for participants.
We actually have an empowerment model, and that model really consists of really creating an environment where participants are self-sufficient, where they're self-advocates, and where they are the experts of what they feel that they need. So we really, strongly focus on safety and getting them the supports that they need to be stable, where they can begin to kind of build on what their goals are. So the staff actually partner with them and collaborate with participants. So we provide a whole array of assistance through, initially the first interaction is, we leave staff on the phone, creating this, a dialogue that's safe and comforting. And then once they enter into the residence, they'll partner with the caseworker, who will then kind of map out with their input what their specific goals are. And primarily it usually consists of housing, because they're in shelter and they need housing. And they want to, have a transition plan into a stable environment. And then it's also providing health services. We provide counseling services. We provide life skill development services. We provide referrals for early intervention, substance use support, mental health support. So we really have a pretty holistic approach, and we provide a complete, wraparound support for them once they get here. But it is based on their, them kind of facilitating that dialogue in terms of what they need, and we do whatever we can, if it's not internally, externally, to get them the services. Provide language line assistance if someone is in need of literacy support. So we can be very creative. Well, the shelter is definitely always in need of donations and that additional support. One of the primary things that we tend to need a lot is diapers, because we serve infants and younger children. We also want to provide clothing, so we have that kind of as one of our top priorities, for donations that we receive and request. We have an inventory within each shelter of kind of what we have in house, and that can consist of we give a welcome kit, and that's toothpaste, toothbrushes, and lotions and shampoo, and so that's constant. We're constantly trying to increase the number of those items that we have. So we partner with the development team and have inventories now of kind of what we have in house and what we need for the future, and then we are potentially very mindful of being strategic about what those things are once we identify kind of what the high priorities are, like car seats, for example. A lot of the families don't have anything once they exit their environment that they're moving from. So we want to get car seats for safety. We want to get carriages. Cribs are a high priority, as well as beds and comforters and linens and everything that we can accommodate participants with the system and make it a safe, supportive space. That's really what we need for the shelter.
No, people do not. It's fortunate that we've been able to create a system that allows people that are struggling in their lives and to have a place for them to go, that they don't have to, that's one thing they don't have to worry about. Because one of the problems you have with DV and SA is that you're going to have people that now are homeless because they don't have those funds, or they're evicted, or the other person that's evicted. So the good fortune is they come here and they don't have to worry about the financial piece of it.
As I mentioned, I've been with New Hope for about approximately a year, and one of the things that I have truly, valued and want to highlight that this work isn't easy, and we're handling situations which are very challenging, but the commitment and dedication that the staff have is really important to us being able to provide really important services to the participants that we engage, and the healing begins with the staff interaction with the participants, and that is something that is valued regarding the staff's ability to really be caring, be supportive, understanding, and to really highlight the trauma-informed care model that we follow. That's really, I think, how we're able to really support participants coming from really devastating and challenging circumstances.
One of my genius coworkers mentioned that this is a really difficult job, and it really is, but it's also very fulfilling. It's just important to realize when you get in the middle of this, it's easy to have your own connections or your own feelings about the work of the individual. One of the hardest things to do is to not personalize this, because it's so big and we're all human, we all have these emotions about things, and we can forget about the trauma that people have gone through and the experience that they have in the moment. And it's important to kind of put things in perspective, get support from your supervisors, and just really utilize this as a way of not just supporting participants, but also supporting yourself. It's going to be very important that you take very good care of yourself throughout this experience.